From the market that's black, to the back of the lag, to the chrome of the strap, to the way that it's stacked, never lack. Bring it back to reflect on the art. Watch the good spark, realizing where it start. On no reputation, representing the cool. The rims and the paint complement the old school. White cups they pour through, another mission begins. Regardless the destination, all leads to the end.
What up, what up? Welcome back to Music Spectrum, the podcast where we break down everything from bars to beats, albums to anthems, and the culture behind the music. I'm Black Mozart with my dog.
Cornbread Capone.
All right, today you already know we're talking about the duo, the artist, producer duo, as you've seen on the title. So let's do this. Let's go by first and foremost. Let's break down one rapper, one producer. Is it the best formula? Before we even get into our opinions, I'm gonna name a few legendary one producer albums. You know, I'm gonna keep it semi-current, semi-not current. Of course, we got to start off with one of my favorite artists, Nas and Hit Boy, the King's Disease series. You know, that's me. The Jay-Z and No ID, the 444. To me, that's a good duo. You know, ID been in the game for a minute. You know what I'm saying? You got MF Doom and Mad Lib for the Mad Vigilante series. All right, and then you got, of course, Kanye West, the sole producer for artists like on Common. I think it was B. I think it was that joint. You got Freddie Gibbs and Mad Lib. It's a lot, man. You got Dre, Pac, on a lot of his stuff. Is there somebody I didn't name? Let's go back. Let's bring it back. Premier. You got Premier and Nas.
Premier and Nas, Q-Tip and LL Cool J.
Oh, of course.
You could say Dr. Dre and Eminem. You can say Dr. Dre and Snoop. Let's see. Kanye West, he's produced full albums for Nas, Pusha T, Tiana Taylor, himself, Kid Cudi, Jay-Z.
What about let's look at this. Let's not discount them. You got to look at 3 6 Mafia, the producer for them. Now, was it Juicy J or was it Paul?
Well, both of them produced.
So you got to look at, they had some, you know, in that era, they had some pretty fire beats, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's what drove them to the place that they, you know, the heights that they got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they created the sound. It's funny when I think about it because at first a lot of people probably didn't get it or like it, but they came in the game mid-90s. That's when I first. And then they just kind of continued doing their thing, and then in the 2000s is when they blew up.
Yeah,
and they blew up because a whole nother city took their sound, ran with it as if it was theirs. Until Pimp had to come out and say, "Hey, you talking about crunk music? You need to be giving it up to 3 6 Mafia because they the ones they created that." You know what I'm saying?
And you got to look at Manny Fresh, the whole New Orleans sound. You know, and you know, us being so close to Louisiana, you know, you got to look at. You can't really say Lake Charles was New Orleans culture. They was more of Texas sound, because you know what I'm saying. But if you look at, it seemed like New Orleans and they sound, they was a whole different country when it came to music. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think you got to look at Pimp C as well. Pimp C was a very outstanding producer. You got to look at Corey Mo. You know what I'm saying? When it came to Texas producers, you know, let's even give it to.
I'm gonna say all the people who, you know, because I grew up on that Rap-A-Lot sound. You know, I had every tape that they put out. So Mike Dean, Joe, all these Scarface, all these names, all these guys are legendary producers.
Oh yeah. So who was the first one you can? Because he did a lot of Scarface joint. Man, I can't remember his name. You just said his name.
Mike Dean.
Mike Dean. That dude sound was ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? We talking about real. You talking about producing for people for Devin the Dude, classics with Devin. The whole whole Tila album was off the chain. I don't know who did. I can't remember who did the whole Tila album, but that sound was ridiculous.
Swab House sound in the 90s when they were doing the live instrumentation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what separate. Okay, 8Ball and MJG. Everybody loves Ball and G. I do too.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who has their first 3 albums will attest to this.
Yeah.
Top of the World sounds totally different from their first 2 albums.
Yeah.
And that's because of that sound, that same sound that Tila had, that live instrumentation. Mm-hmm. I don't know who was doing their beats at the time, but boy, I know Jazzy Faye had something to do with Tila first album because he did Show Enough. And Jazzy Faye,
I remember that.
He's another one of my favorite producers because every track he do for anybody, that shit be jamming.
Hey, look at you remember Beats by the Pound? Beats by the Pound as well. Ridiculous. And you just looking at, you got to look at this too. Even closer towards the 2000s, you got to look at Zaytoven. Look at Zaytoven as well. Zaytoven had a sound that you knew it was him and Gucci Mane. You know what I'm saying? You knew, okay, that was a tandem. Okay, when Gucci Mane was rapping, okay, that's Zaytoven. That's a sound. And then you had, the whole Cash Money was Mannie Fresh. If you know, and even with Wu-Tang first came out, they had RZA. You know what I'm saying? They had. Right. So you ever notice, and it just seems like when you have let's look at some of the pros of having one producer, right? You got to look at that producer in the booth with y'all, the studio every day. He knows you. He knows what your likes and dislikes. He likes how you like the beat to drop. He knows how many bars you like to rap. He knows the type of, when y'all have the idea, of what you're trying to rap on. He knows what sound to put here. And that's what makes that tandem, to me, a great tandem and makes it good for hip hop or in being in music in general. You know what I'm saying? But if you ever notice when artists sway from that home cooked meal that they was having with that producer, they don't do as well. See what I'm saying?
Right.
That's just me.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's just everybody's ability to be like, okay, I did that. Let me try something else. See if this works. When you already have a winning formula.
Yeah.
Why
change it up? Man, if the gumbo tastes good, why you gonna add something to it? You know what I'm saying? I think that's just us sometimes as humans. We like, oh, this is winning, but I'm getting bored. I want to switch it up. Why? Keep fucking with it until you start losing with it. Then you switch it up. Okay, look, it ain't working no more. We ain't selling. Hey, we got to branch out a little bit. Let's tweak some things. You know what I'm saying? So I did look up some stuff, or just based off of Me Too as well. I think some of the pros of having one producer is, like I said, that cohesion. The sound feels more unified and polished when an artist and a producer work together. Now, I know a lot of people say it's over. They don't after the beat. But if you look at for years, 40 and Drake, they was a good tandem. Or whoever was writing for Drake had a good tandem with the producer 40. You know what I'm saying? So the stronger artist-producer chemistry. When an artist and producer truly understand each other, the music actually benefits from it. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I feel. And a consistent sound helps maintain an album narrative. If you're working on a full album, and whatever happened to the days where you can listen from an album from the beginning to the end and it told a whole story, like on Scarface. If you listen from the beginning to the end, Scarface tell a story throughout. It's like a movie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's where we kind of lost in the space a little bit. Now, a lot of people, man, Mozart, you old, you still trying to rock. Why? Why water down the art form? You know what I'm saying? The art of storytelling. That's what it was about. Each one teach one. And that's just me. You got any input as far as the pros of having one producer?
Well, I agree with what you said, as far as the sound being polished, and the cohesiveness of it.
Yeah.
So
here's a counter argument, though. A counter argument is you could have more variety, sounds, and production styles. That could be a good and a bad thing. What you think about that? I mean, on one end, you might be, I'm a Nas fan, but I'm like hearing Nas on Premier beats. And then next thing you know, he rapping on a Mannie Fresh beat. I'm like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, as an artist who has put together projects produced by multiple people, it becomes tricky because you're trying to find what you feel fits this missing piece of the puzzle for your project.
Yeah.
Versus having one producer who knows you, and you pretty much just going down the line. You just, trying to figure out everything you want to say, making sure you get to say everything you want to say. Mm-hmm. And with somebody that knows you,
yeah,
the production is gonna be there.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand and I kind of don't, but
yeah. So
that's the trick of it.
So who do you think benefits the most? I'm going to put this question out there, everybody. Who do we think benefits the most from this approach, the one rapper, one producer? I've talked to several A&Rs in the game that work like with people like Trouble. I know one or two guys that work with a couple other artists, especially in the Atlanta era, and I just asked them, like, what is the best way for a producer? I would say a producer. They would always tell me, as a beat maker or producer, latch on to an artist and stick with that artist and help them develop their sound, because they said getting in the game that way, even though it's hard, it's kind of easier that way, because now y'all riding together. Y'all been through the trenches together. Y'all know each other's sound and what each other dislikes. He's like, it's way more easier for a producer to latch on to an artist and be their main number one producer versus trying to shop around beats to already established artists. He said, reason being is that, let's just say a big time artist, let's just say, I'm gonna name an artist that really is not big. Like, now I want to say Nas, but Nas is up there. So let's just say a young up and coming producer wants to, man, I don't even know who's a new artist. I don't know. Just say an artist that's, let's just say Lil Baby or Young Boy, whatever they those guys. Say a 19-year-old producer wants to get with Young Boy or Lil Baby. What they were saying is harder to get with them because they already have their established producer. You know what I'm saying? Or the type of, and what they was trying to explain to me is that all they do is go to the studio and say, hey, pull up some beats. And it's normally from the people who they already fucking with to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they was explaining to me, like, hey, let's just say, I produce for you, like, get with you, like, hey, boom. So that way, when you do get to where you need to be, think about it, Brett. If you've been rocking with me the whole time, who are you actually gonna get to the studio? Hey, pull up some Mozart beats, because you already rocking with me. You know my sounds. You know what I'm saying? Right. Versus if you didn't know Mozart and you coming in the studio want to fuck with some beats, are you really gonna be checking for Mozart because I'm a new producer? Probably not. It just might be by chance you be like, oh shit, who made that beat? You know what I'm saying? By chance. You know what I mean? So I believe in having the one rapper, one producer thing, because when you start early with an artist in your career, you build that that cohesiveness, man. That's just like being in the Army, man. You got a strong team, or being any kind of team. You build that strong cohesiveness, man. So let me ask you this, though. Do veteran artists benefit more because they already built a signature style? Think about it. Or should they, forget the signature style and like, I'm gonna be versatile. how they used to say.
The signature style is what got them to where they are now. You know what I'm saying? More than likely, it was something that people remembered. More than likely, it was something that people deemed as classic. So if that's what it is, then there's nothing wrong with that. And at the same time, you can be versatile too. You just don't have to put it on your album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ways to be versatile and show versatility without having it on your album.
So as a fan of hip hop, do you think people look for, because we know the producers that produce now, now they big time in the game. Now we know who did what. But if you hear, like, let's say All Eyes on Me, right? He had Dre, he had what you call it from Jodeci,
Daz.
Yeah. So do you think that All Eyes on Me benefited from having multiple producers, and or do you think it would have been more chart topping if he just had all Dre?
Because of Dr. Dre's name and name meant back then, it probably would have had more. But what Suge did for him when he came out, was he gave him that death row sound.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you ask me, All Eyes on Me is definitely one of the best rap albums ever made. And it's not just because of Tupac's performance, it's also because of the production, the stuff that Daz did. We can't forget that DJ Quick mixed that album.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The reason that album sounds so good. All the people who contribute, from Devontae to Rick Rock to all these different, talented producers.
Yeah.
That shit was amazing. I mean, even today when you put it on, it still sounds like you're at a party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the production makes it like that, because the way Ambitions as a Rider come on and the way the speakers slap when that bass drop, that's the difference. When No More Pain plays and you can hear that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's still unbeatable to this day. It's still unbeatable.
And so I'm gonna bring it up to the 2000s. I'm gonna say this, to the 2000s, when Cameron and Diplomats. Wow, they ran, the hip hop scene. They were I ain't gonna say they ran it, but I would say they was a big name for a while, for a big portion of hip hop in the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s. But I want to highlight the Heatmakers for a lot of their production when it came to the Diplomat sound. And I do notice that I don't know if it was the time because they wore out their welcome, but I know when they started branching off to different producers, they kind of fell by the wayside because they didn't have that Heatmaker sound. That sped up. And me personally, it was kind of like they took that from Kanye, but we ain't gonna get into that. You know what I'm saying? The MPC 2000 XL drum machine, where they took it and sped up some samples and things like that. But I'm just trying to highlight that you got one group or one record label, Heatmakers, they made they run. You look at Kanye, the backpack Kanye. I ain't talking about the new one right now. I'm talking about the backpack Kanye. Gave Rockefeller a lot of their sound before we even knew who Kanye was. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the Blueprint had Kanye on it. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you look at Biggie Smalls' first album. He used pretty much the
all of New York's producers from
I'm trying to think of their names, but a lot of them,
to DJ Premier to Clark Kent to who else was on that album? I don't want to say his name, but we all know.
Of course.
But he had multiple producers on both of those albums. on both Life After Death and Ready to Die. Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99.
Yeah.
DJ Unique.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All the way
Classic.
through. When they got away from that is when they sound started to fall. You know what I'm saying? But DJ Unique is responsible for East 1999 Eternal.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, that album, I mean, that came out what 98, 99, right?
No, that was the summer of 1995.
Look, you're right, because you know what's crazy? I was a drummer. Okay, everybody know I played the drums and I was in band in high school. And I'm gonna tell you, I had that tape. And when we went to the summer band thing, we had to do every year. And that whole album, I mean, I had that tape. That whole album was on repeat. And I'm gonna tell you, my tape broke. I listened to East 1999 so much. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, I think, me personally, the artist that stood out to me the most was Busy. That was my dog. It was just that the way he formulated the flows. You know, granted, all of them had their own sound, but they were all a group, and they had one producer that they all had this cohesive to. Now, when they start branching out, like you say, it's like, come on, man, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Now you look at, you know, another big tandem. You're looking at and I wanted to say this on the other podcast episode, but you got to say, look at No Limit, how they had, you know, their producer core, right? And for years they ran the music industry. People were looking for that tank, but most of all, we were looking for that sound that they had. That sound is what we heard. You know, that deep Louisiana, but they had the bass feel, the bass guitar, you know, that good Southern, you know, flow, you know. So, and just think about it too, is that you look at, I'm gonna put this on there too, J. Cole. J. Cole makes a lot of his stuff too. Mm-hmm. But before I get off, we cannot leave Big Crit out the picture. We cannot.
One of my favorites.
Big Crit produces his own stuff, and of course, when you produce your own stuff, you know, hey, you got the most chemistry of all. You know what I'm saying? But I do think there's a good thing for, you know, having variety as a production style. But I think I got off note. You as a fan, Brad, right? When you come to an album and you know, okay, this artist usually uses this producer, does it make you upset that they try to dabble and don't even have that producer on there more and go with a whole new producer? You know, we ain't talking about Nas and Hit Boy. That's one of a kind. But if you pick up a CD and you like, this blah, blah, blah normally works with this producer, and you get 12 tracks, not one sound of that producer, they got a whole different sound. What does that do to you as a hip hop fan? Do you get skeptical, or you give it a chance?
Well, it depends on who the artist is. The artist that comes to mind when you ask me that question is Redman. Yeah. Redman just dropped Muddy Waters too. Yeah. Everybody who's a hip hop fan knows that the first Muddy Waters was produced by Erick Sermon. Yeah. Erick Sermon has a certain sound and style, you know, with his music, and it's great when Redman works with Erick Sermon because they have been working together and they know each other, and it sounds like it goes together. Yeah. Now, Muddy Waters 2 only has one song produced by Erick Sermon. Despite that, it's still a good album, despite the fact that it's produced by multiple people. Yeah. So it just depends on the artist. If the artist continues to shine no matter what production is put in front of him, he ain't got no problem. You know what I'm saying? It's the ones that falter, that don't know what to do when they're not under their comfort zone. Yeah. That's the issue. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Do you think that, this is me, I think that, of course, Jadakiss, one of the greatest MCs of all time, but I think Jadakiss, personally, talking about this this topic alone, he should have found a dedicated producer that works well with him. because for some reason Jadakiss has not had the best selection of beats in his career. You know what I'm saying?
I would say that the only thing that's missing from Jadakiss is the fact that he does not have a classic album.
Yeah, well, I can agree with that.
He can rap his ass off. We know what he's capable of. He's battle ready. We know what he can do, but he just don't have a classic album. He got good albums. I would say his first 3 are his best 3, but none of them are classics.
Yeah,
he needs that classic that we can put our hand on and say, all right, this is it.
Yeah. And I'm still waiting. We still got time. As long as he's alive, we can still wait for that one. But, you know, we can't be in our 60s and 70s waiting for a classic album from Jadakiss. You know what I'm saying? But I think as a whole, how does it affect, because we know how it affected, we talking about the 90s and, the late 90s, early 90s and hip hop scene where you had the one producer that was producing for everybody. But how does that work when it comes to new age artists? See what I'm saying? Like, because of the times where you can get beats off the internet, or you can look at beats, download them off YouTube, or you know what I'm saying? It's just beats are so accessible now that a lot of these new artists are not looking for one producer. You know what I'm saying? So is it better for their sound? Do you think that would be harder to find their sound or easier, to find their specific branding or style? As coming from a artist like yourself?
I would say it depends. It depends on where that artist is trying to go. Some artists don't have a vision. They just see the lifestyle and they see the perks and they see, this, that, and the third, and that just makes them want to become a rapper. They don't really have a vision. They don't really you know what I'm saying? Like, think about it deeply as they should. So that artist probably wouldn't take credence into his sound and style. But now, the artist that does, they're going to be particular about that because they don't want to sound like nobody else. They don't want to be put off in a category or grouped off in a category with other artists when they know that they stand alone. Yeah. And one part of standing alone is being original, being creative, having your own sound style.
Yeah. So I definitely rock with this one, man. Like I said, with me, I like, I worked with, I would say 2 artists in my career, one being yourself and one being another guy. I'm not going to mention his name. But I can tell that when I'm able to work with one artist, we know what each other likes. We know what each other can do. As far as the artist wouldn't ask me to do something that he specifically knows I don't like to do. Not saying I can't do it, but I wouldn't do it because I don't like doing that type of, let's just say that type of beat or that type of genre or things of that nature. Like, I work with you a lot. I know you wouldn't ever ask me to make a bluegrass beat. You know what I'm saying? So or you wouldn't, ever ask me to do certain type of things, just like, that that you never heard me do before, But I can say this, that the song that your single you have out, is a very hot single, and I think that when you have a selective group of producers, as an artist, let's just say you got 2 or 3, but if you work with those 2 or 3 producers so much for that one artist, you can go to different producers and say, those 3 producers that you specifically work with, and say, hey man, can you do this type of beat for me? Hey man, can you do? And then that's from when an artist can have a legit consistent sound that helps the album, because they know, okay, that's Bread's sound, or that's that artist's sound, because this is what we hear every album, because you might have 2 or 3 producers that's dedicated to producing for this one artist, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you have an artist who has 15 different producers every album, you really can't get that one sound that's dedicated for you, because every producer has a different, I might like doing laid back, I like doing the, like laid back type of stuff with piano keys in it. You might have another producers who like straight bass heavy horns. You might, so, but I say that to say this is that if you're a new artist in the game, I think you should find a producer that you like and stick with them until something goes somewhere. And then if you want to branch out, then branch out. Just be careful that if you have built fans off of your branding that you have with that producer and you switch, that might cause some rift with the fans. That's all I'm saying.
Word.
Yeah, so, and like Currency, that Currency has that sound, by Harry Fraud. You got Alchemist. When as a Currency fan, I know that's what I'm going to hear. Now, if I hear him on some Kanye shit, I'm going to be like, what's going on, Currency? You know what I'm saying? I might not give it a chance.
Right.
So, you got anything left for the audience? What we want to do is make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell for notification. And we want to ask all the listeners, which do you prefer? One producer or a mix of producers as a fan? And we want to hear what you got to say, your last tidbit of bread about, do you prefer one producer or a mix?
I would say I prefer one producer. If you lock in with that one producer, y'all know each other and y'all can feed off each other, and the cohesion is there, and everything is where it needs to be as far as sound is concerned. That's perfect. You know what I'm saying? It's perfect.
Oh yeah. All right then. So y'all already know what it is. It is, Music Spectrum. And the next episode is we will be talking about the latest drama in hip hop. We're gonna talk about Jay-Z, the wild allegations, and we're gonna also talk about Reasonable Doubt, Hall of Fame induction, and contrast with the legal allegations. Other than that, you already know what it is. It's Music Spectrum.
The debt, getting respect by the way the speaker shake. If she look, I take. It's more money to make. Sell out, then I shake. Gotta give him his card. So smooth when he move, but what he playing is hard. I don't bump mainstream, I knock underground. All that other shit sugar coated and watered down. I don't bump mainstream, I knock underground. All that other shit sugar coated and watered down. I don't bump mainstream.